we know merit increases are common. They're widespread use around the country and around the world today, but one of the major hurdles with merit pay programs is managing expectations. Some organizations have chosen to announce their overall merit budget to all employees, whether it be in a staff meeting or maybe some general communication or on an intranet, thinking that that will help manage those expectations of employees, but I really feel like there are some risks to doing that as well. Certainly the benefit in times like we've experienced in the last few years is that you have an opportunity to let employees know that maybe it's been a down year, things aren't quite as good as we'd hoped they'd be, maybe you're a little bit below plan, and so everybody kind of tempers their expectations in terms of the size of the merit increase they think that they'll see. But one of the real risks that you take is that a lot of employees hear the word merit budget or average budget, and they equate that with average performer. If you think you're an average performer or above, and quite frankly, I think most of us think we're better than average, you start to put numbers in your head. And if there's any delay from the time that organizational announcement is made until your individual pay conversations, you are really at risk of having employees come into those pay conversations thinking they're getting an increase that they are not entitled to receive.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've worked at several organizations. Some organizations have published what the merit budget is. Sometimes they've just published it to managers. Sometimes we published it to all employees. And other times we haven't published it at all. One of the concerns with this whole notion of pay transparency, Alison, is I think that some are under sort of the misnomer that if you sort of publish, okay, our budget's going to be 3%, for example, then they sort of, okay, we've published the budget, we're being open, but yet they haven't followed up with any of the other communications that are necessary for people to really understand what's going on in terms of merit pay and the rest of the compensation programs. When people hear, for example, 3%, they think to themselves, okay, I'm one of the 80% that are, of course, above average, so the least that I'm going to receive is 3%. And what HR and compensation departments haven't communicated is the rest of the story. It's the, your increase is based on many considerations: your pay level versus the market, where you are in your salary range, your performance rating relative to your peers. Do you have hot skills? Do you have a critical skill set? All of those things are going and should be taken into account so that an employee may be an above average performer, may be a top performer, but also may be very high in their range, in which case they're already being paid above market. So we wouldn't expect them to necessarily receive an average increase. Yet many departments simply don't communicate the rest of the story. So I think with pay transparency, you have to make sure that you're communicating enough of the information. You can't just publish little snippets. Otherwise, to your point, I think it's almost better if they didn't communicate. They gave less information, because people are always drawing conclusions when they don't have enough information.
Well, and there are plenty of opportunities and other ways that you can manage those expectations and give an indication of where the organization is at in terms of pay increases and bonus payouts and those types of things without necessarily divulging that number. And if you're an organization that has an open compensation philosophy and an open door policy in general for employees, there's more of an opportunity, I think, with the individual communications for them to understand the organizational picture with budget, but immediately, as you mentioned, all of those other considerations that are going into pay decisions so that they still feel valued, because that's one of the real risks of this. You think by giving more information out, everybody is going to be more realistic with their expectations. Oftentimes it goes completely the other direction, and now a fair pay increase becomes something that's completely demotivating.
Yeah, you hit a real nail on the head there when you're talking about employee expectations, and that's really, I think 90% of the game in terms of having motivated and engaged employees. It's It's managing expectations. The absolute pay level in many cases is immaterial. It's the relative, how is my pay compared to other people, that really makes the difference. In terms of pay transparency and whether you communicate a merit budget or don't, it's really important to give employees the proper context so that they understand, this is the overall budget, this is how my increase fits, this is how it was determined, and so that they see that there is some, there's some rhyme or reason. It's not just someone throwing a dart at a dartboard.